Peter Rufai was one of the best goalkeepers in the world during his active playing time. He played for Nigeria in 2 World Cups and he played in many Nations Cup. He is right here beside me and we want to have a one-on-one interview with him. Welcome to Legit Sport. My name is Ibito Shitu. Good afternoon, Diego Maradona.
Afternoon.
So, sir, tell us the reason behind the establishment of Diego Maradona Soccerthon.
Yeah, Diego Maradona Soccerthon is a vision born out of the fact that this country is blessed with potentials, skillful players, and it's left to we who have passed through that industry and those who have been in the industry as administrators have experienced and have seen that yes, indeed, sports it's something to be reckoned with. Sports all over the world is making a very big headway. It's many countries around the globe are using sports, using football and different and other sports to turn things around, to make their country enabling environment for their citizens. You know, so you look at it from one angle, it is helping the youths, it is taking them out of the street. You look at it from another angle, it's giving the youths hope, and it's giving the entire nation or a community, is giving them hope. You look at it again from another angle, it is a business. Once it's well packaged, you see that the return it brings, it now increases and adds to the GDP of that community or the country in general. So from that angle, I happen to taste all this different concept of what football or sports in general is. Like I tell you, that of the giving me the platform to go to school. I only went to a primary school and did a kind of trade school, you know, where I learned a little bit of electrical, and that was it all. But through the same football, I went to a higher school in Europe. I went to university in Europe. I graduated, got my bachelor's degree, pursued my master's degree, and it's football that gave me all this.
Sir, in your honest opinion, who do you think deserves to be Nigeria Super Eagles #1 goalkeeper?
Who deserves? Who deserves? From my own perspective, will be he that worked hard for the position. Because if you just go by sentiment choice, then that is not fair. It's mostly, I mean, it's most better you just say you go by who merits it in the sense of hard working. So far, I've not been able to evaluate the goalkeepers on their day-to-day performances and in training sections and in match sections for some reasons, but judging from the standard Nigeria ought to have reached, I know we're not meeting up in some of those positions, and one of the obvious positions is the goalkeeping area.
So, do you support Vincent Enyeama coming back to the Super Eagles?
Vincent Enyeama coming back to the Super Eagles, I will always support if he is willing. But my using the word if he is willing is one. I love the patriotism in any player who will say he or she wants to come back to serve, you know, his country or her country. I will support that anytime. I mean, that for me, it's special because it shows commitment, it shows passion, it shows the sense of belonging. But the question is the standard, the level, the performance. Is he going to meet up If he's coming in, for sure, it's always going to be a plus. Plus in the sense that if it's not going to be by performance, it is going to be by his moral support to the team. If it is not by the moral support to the team, at least if he's there, he motivates other upcoming goalkeepers. So from whichever angle you look at it, it's a plus.
Odion Ighalo recently joined Premier League side Manchester United. What advice do you have for him? And do you think Odion Ighalo should be persuaded back to the Super Eagles?
For me, as far as this game is concerned, except the individual person concerned don't want to play for his country or her country. Playing at the top level of professional football and you say you don't want to play for your country, I think I don't get it, because one of the greatest pride is to represent your country. The greatest pride you can ever think of, it's to be there for your country, because that is the greatest, I don't know a word to, define or classify. On earth, this creation we are, the government is the highest. The government is the highest on earth. And if the nation as a whole you serve, I think you have done something wonderful, special. You have served your people, you've served the nation. And I think for any football player or any sportsman or woman to say he does not want to serve his nation, and while he or she is doing very, very well in a top flight in another country, and say he doesn't want to serve his nation, I don't get it. So I will be in support of any means of attracting a quality player like Ighalo to come back, because whenever they come back, it is a plus.
It's now 20 years that Nwankwo won the African Best Player Award last for Nigeria, and since then we've not had any other Nigerian international to be crowned African Best. What do you think is the reason why we are failing to produce African Best in Nigeria?
You see, we've not been very consistent with the transition process. You see, if we have been consistent with the transition process, okay, for example, let me take it this way again. An illustration. It's been over, let's say, approximately 15 years. Kwara State has a state sports festival. So you can imagine that gap. Now, with such gap, how do you expect any player from Kwara to be outstanding in international play? So this is the same thing. In the country, we've not won, or we've not been. When you hear Nigerian name listed among other internationals that are yet to win awards, you all of a sudden, before the countdown starts coming down to where Nigeria is out. Nigeria is out. Before we get to the first 20, Nigeria is out. It's coming down to the first best 10. We don't make it anymore, and this is as a result of the non-consistency in the transition and not building a special data, taking performances of our athletes right from the onset and to the zenith of professional standard.
Diego Maradona, can you tell us the most fulfilled moment in your career and your most toughest opponent?
Let me take the toughest opponent. It's difficult to say just one incident is the toughest, and it's difficult to measure when it comes to say toughest. You see, because it's a collective sport. A tough moment in a particular.
The toughest player you've ever faced. You see, that's one thing. Most times in this kind of questions, I try to find a way to give
a maximum response to the question.
Okay, so which player can you mention in particular?
I think when it has to do with a player, for me, Diego Maradona has always been a player that has given me, each time I meet with him, that real restless, and I can use that to tell you that yes, it's Diego Maradona.